Okay, we are back. Right then. Our coolant is moving around, sharing a decent amount of heat with everything before coming back down, which is not exactly what we want because it's actually cooling rather than what we actually wanted it to do. We do need to get the knot gates in place. Make this one a priority 7. There we are. And over there as well. Now, we'll leave those set up as they are. We do need to get the gas pipes in there as well. These can just go straight up. Then across. For now, it can simply be that they dump that gas out. As soon as that's built, we'll seal this off, and this is going to then be an enclosed environment. Gonna lurk a bit now. We'll be there for the battles, though. Okay, Alpha, thanks for dropping by, mate. Oh, Xenovoid, thank you so much for the cheer as well. Really kind of you, mate. Right, how are things down here? Not amazingly warm, honestly. Actually, pretty not warm at all. A bit of an issue. We will get that sorted in time. Now, is all of that being hooked up now? It does look like it has. And as the gas overlay, yep, that is all done. So all that remains now is to set this up properly. Set these up to look for, if it's not carbon dioxide, and then I want this to activate and pump the gas out until it is only carbon dioxide, isn't it? It's not going to be perfect, especially because some of that can sit at the top, but actually, probably should do that. Damn, okay. My bad. I should have this up here. Simply because that's going to allow... The CO2 will fill up this level. I needed to make sure that it's also filling up this level. That was a bit of poor planning on my part there. Thankfully, very easy to fix. Please tell me I wasn't making that. Am I making them out of... I am. No. Copper? No. Wait. I am. Ah, some days. You know what? Sure. I've already done it. We're just going to be that bling that we've got steel atmospheric sensors. Because why not? My quick stopping by has to end now. I have to go as well. Good night, Aavak and Chad, and once again, our church, great. Oh, take care, mate. Thanks for dropping by. Hi, guys. If second month is best month, then 20th month is best month times 10. Indeed it is, and thank you very much for the 20 months, buddy. There we go. Let's get that done. Tonk. Some of the gas in here is being leached out a bit. Right, once that's finished, I will pop down high pressure gas vents at a reasonably low priority. Pop those at 5s. Problem with those is they can melt from too hot gas, but we'll see. Carbon dioxide, carbon dioxide. Yep, everything is sorted. Right, now that's done. Let's bridge across. And get a little bit more petroleum into the system. We're going to drain this system fairly aggressively, but this one should become very good at moving the liquids around. For the most part, this is only going to really be pulling out things like oxygen. But occasionally steam will accrue. It's that occasionally that we need to deal with. Now, we're currently pumping all of this delicious, wonderful carbon dioxide out. When really, we should be sending it over here. Let's get that done, shall we? What I should be doing is making sure that this is insulated. Actually, yes, I really should, because it is technically fairly warm. Of course, I've already done a bunch of it. Damn it. There we go. Xylophone building. The only way to build, truly. Actually, let's bring that back and then out. Then we can have it branch down. This can then be disconnected, and instead of giving priority to that route, priority will be given to going to the slicksters. So that should start pushing the temperature up just a tiny, tiny little bit, but you know, every little bit helps. I'll get the gas pressure in here. Starting to drop. It's got a long way before all the oxygen is... Oh, we're pumping out CO2 there, it seems. Yeah, the problem is this can grab CO2 from down here, which is a bit of an issue. A better way of doing this, actually thinking about it, would be to have a little box there instead. Huh. Yes, that would actually be a lot better. This way, all of the CO2 has to come from one direction. That direction is over here. So a little bit of CO2 just creeping up won't get pumped up, because the way the gas pump pumps, it's these tiles. These tiles. So in fact, that being shunted over one space would have been the better option there, but we'll see how it goes. Aavak, I've been playing a ton of Caves of Cud recently, and remembered you did a series on it a few years ago. I plan to return for another game like it or Cataclysm in the near future. I always enjoy your narrative playthroughs. Yes, absolutely, especially with Cataclysm, and I have been thinking about Caves of Cud a little bit more recently as well. But when that will be, I couldn't say. Actually, never mind. That one seems to have sorted itself out. I take it back. Apparently, this is more than capable enough of dealing with everything. I am dumping some CO2, but that's done remarkably well for itself. My goodness. Appears that I don't need to mess around with the system at all. I mean, occasionally it'll pull a little bit of it out, but very occasionally. It might never quite get all of it out of there, but do a decent job of it, to be fair. And every time they open the bloody door, though. So yeah, we are dumping some of the CO2 out, which is a bit of an issue, but that's fine. Having a bit more CO2 outside is never going to be a particularly big problem for us. Right, how's this doing? Well, I'm going to need to restrict the flow a little bit by removing this bridge, just to allow this reservoir to fill up a little bit, but it does now have a full loop. If I remove that bridge, this reservoir will start to back up, and then I can put the bridge back in, and everything should work. Let's allow this to get to, oh, I don't know, a ton of petroleum, maybe? No, maybe not quite that much, but certainly a little bit more than we've got in there right now. And J-Dog, thank you very much for the subscription, mate. I miss Aavak's spider sorted days. Aavak misses Aavak's spider sorted days too. Okay, that joke about taking up to a ton has apparently been taken seriously by the game. Being said, 1.5 may actually be a decent amount to have in the system. Either way, though, we should be good enough that by the time they build this, whatever we have in here should be plenty. Yeah, 1.5 it looks like. You coming along to... No, you're not coming along for this. Anyone else coming along? No. No one's coming along. Okay, I need to make that a high priority then. Oh, yeah. I do rather need someone to build this for me. Thank you. How much did we end up with? Just shy of 2 tons of petroleum in here to balance the temperatures. You know what? That's fine. That'll work fine. I'm sure it'll be okay. I do need to remove this now, though. Let's get that out of the system. Like, right now. It won't let anything across once this liquid catches up, so that's generally okay, but... Yeah, we've now got a solid 2 tons of petroleum in this system. That should be more than enough to deal with everything we need it to work on. Now, I suspect that we're all out of natural gas. That one's going to be active in 32 cycles. What about the other one? All the way down here. All the way down there. Going to be active in another 42 cycles. I completely took my eye off the prize down here. Thankfully, though, it pretty much got to where I needed it to be. Right. Steam. There we are. How long until you erupt? 16.3 cycles. How about my copper volcano? Looks like that's recently erupted. No, it hasn't, but that copper is rather warm. Yes, that copper is shockingly warm, actually. Well done, you. Shockingly warm copper moving around, but it's only a tiny, tiny amount of it, so it's never going to bleed its heat off. Unfortunately, so, oh well, I guess that's the thing. Right, so we're in a bit of a dormant phase for the base overall right now. One thing we could do is we could kick in the generator up here by mining out a bit more regolith. We managed to get that regolith out of the way and inject it into the system. This will start generating a little bit more power again. Aavak, am I hyped for the DLC? Yes, absolutely. Tempted to buy this game solely to hear the xylophone while dragging the mouse side to side rapidly. I imagine that while that is probably a small set of people who have legitimately bought it for that reason alone, but you aren't on your own. Imagine there are some people who would very much agree. Right. With that done, this can go back to not accepting any of the sweep commands. Okay. Got some natural gas going again, though. Interesting. Where's all that coming from? Oh, it's coming from down here. Okay, fair enough. Seems that these kicked back in. We are sending down a reasonably large amount of warm CO2 in there. Have a look at this general area. It's not terrible. It could be a lot better. It's not terrible. Do need to get this natural gas out of here, though. Shockingly badly. Hopefully they can finish this somewhat soon, get that on the go. But at the very least, we are now injecting heat into this system for free. Right now we're probably leaching it rather than injecting it. But so it's coming in here. Oh, actually no, 106, and it's leaving. Yeah, it's leaving at 94. So it is shedding heat rather than adding to it. So 105 are there. Yeah, it starts to lose that heat rather rapidly around this area. Gradually, the heat is going to start coming back up again. This area is now insulated, so hopefully we're going to be bleeding a little bit of heat out of these doors. It's not ideal, but it is a thing. Just going to have to live with that, I'm afraid. I could make another 2 of these. Hook that up with another auto sweeper. Might not be the worst idea. There we go. And again, we can just go ahead and add that in. We don't need to do anything special with it because once that is hooked up, it's going to be managed by the automation wire immediately. So right now we are actually shedding some of the heat in the pipes, sadly. It's coming down here at 94, it's leaving again at 106. So yeah, gradually this system will improve, especially as we have the generators running properly, but right now we're doing the opposite of what we want with that system. Hopefully it will get better though. Gold amalgam, sure, I'll take a little bit more of that. Yeah. Hopefully we can get some of this regolith shifted around. It's quite warm. Now, is this set to accept all? It isn't set to accept... Oh no, it is set to accept the metal ores. Okay. Is that going to go in the right place? Yes. Good. Let's not give them a priority 9 to sweep it. That's a bit silly. But that would do quite nicely. Yeah, let's watch this entering the system. It's moving in at 230-ish degrees. Let's start warming the system up a little bit, and eventually those will kick in. Have a look at the coolant in the system. This is a really chill system right now, because it hasn't worked for quite some time, and those wild weezeworts are doing a fairly good job of maintaining the temperature in there. Okay, it's going to take a while for this temperature to actually rise properly, but it will get there. I love how quickly these things drop in temperature, though. It is shocking how fast they drop. What are we looking for? If it's below 200°C, it needs to be dumped out into the system down here, where it will continue to drop off its temperature. Eventually gets dropped out here at a fairly chill temperature, actually. So it's entering here at 150°C. By over here, it's down to 11°C. And it immediately gets dropped out. Like, this place is so cold here that it is easily handling all of the heat that's being injected from there. But when it does that, it adds some extra heat into the liquid that's moving through it. So by the time it gets over here, the liquid's at 12 degrees. Now, we don't quite have the power to run this, but once the system has warmed up, it'll start actually helping out a little bit. The temperature in there is still only 150, unfortunately. But we'll get a little bit of extra heat from the Asteroid regular. Where are you taking that iron? No! Bring it back! It's kind of nice. And iron is meant to go through the system first. Problem is, the system is full of regolith, so... Right. Well, let's at least get that out of the way. Hopefully we can load that up with some iron. And we'll all chill it out. Good night, Lady Sheelab. Thanks for sticking around and modding for me. Please put plenty of love in chat. Both Lady Sheelab and Balal. They do an awful lot of work. Now, one thing this will do, though, that I hadn't really considered, is it's going to balance the temperature a bit. It's going to bring the heat from up here and move it down a bit. Which was an interesting side effect. I really hadn't considered that. That is particularly good. I mean, still, the heat right there is going to be crazy high because of that, but... Hopefully we're going to get plenty of liquid, petroleum out of those lixies. That's going to be a big help. Got 13 cycles on you. We've got 5.4 cycles there. Alright. Well, in the meanwhile, we can focus on a couple of other things. This one's going to be down for a long while. We're not going to have any natural gas for quite some time, sadly. Very sadly. It's getting to that point where I'm starting to think that I need to start filtering out just like general gases around the base. Got an awful lot of gas that isn't going anywhere useful right now. An awful lot of gas that isn't doing any particular good jobs. One of the other things that we need to do is we need to start setting up space research. Because we can't go to space if we don't have the research to get there. And this is something that has been a long, long time coming. Now, it's going to require quite a lot of steel, unfortunately. Thankfully, we do have a decent amount. So, the first things we're going to need. Automation. We want to be able to scan space for incoming meteors. That is super duper important. Now I'm going to want this built down under a little walkway. Okay, let me give you a quick rundown of what I'm planning then. Let's say the floor section is going to be here. That should be okay for most of this. Yes, it does look like that's going to keep us in space for a large part of it. So let's just pop that there. So now this device is a scanner. It's purely automated, but it does produce heat. I don't see it tell me how much heat it produces, but it does have... Oh no, actually it doesn't have an overheat. Okay, so the space scanner I don't need to cool. But I'll use it as an example of how I'm going to cool it anyway. And Mr. Jim, thank you very much for the Prime sub there. It's very kind of you. Thank you very, very much. Now, the way that I'm going to be cooling these out, because we're going to have several devices that are going to require cooling. Now, in the case of this is going to be dumped into some sort of bunker. Because, as you can see from the overlay, if I grab it, I need to keep a certain amount of this clear to get the maximum use out of it. Now, that is a potch in and of itself, but we should be able to work with it. So this, for example, will be down in a little bunker along these lines. I'd come up around there. And above it, I'll put mesh tile or airflow tile, anything that won't obstruct sight. You don't need to have it to have perfect visibility. That isn't required. It's useful, but it's not actually required. So we might not worry too much about that. Now, one thing you've got to be careful of is this can't be within 16 tiles of other industrial stuff, otherwise its quality works down. This will be able to detect asteroids, and the better its quality, the sooner it can detect them. The more grace period you have from it detecting it and sending a signal saying, yeah, there's about to be a meteorite shower, before that actually hits you. Now, the ideal is to have plenty of warning, because then you can shut all of your bunker doors until the meteor shower has passed by. Oh, take care, Marissa. Thanks so much for dropping by, though. Really, really appreciate it. I hope you have a lovely sleep. Now, at this point, for me to get the maximum bang for buck, I would need to have bunker doors that would open. Let me give myself a good 4. So I would need bunker doors from about here to here, I'm guessing. About there. That would allow this to see everything it needs to see. So we would have bunker doors going right along. So I wouldn't quite be able to do it over there, but that's how I would set that up. And then when this detects meteorites, it closes those bunker doors. And we're relatively safe. Now, this doesn't generate heat by itself, but there are plenty of space-based structures that do, and the same issues that we've had with dealing with heat over here are going to be true of those. They're going to generate heat, but the vacuum of space isn't going to take that heat away from them. So we need a different method of dealing with it. I'll try and pick all of that up if I can. Okay, let me try that again. No, not 9. I want it down fast, but I don't want it down on a 9. There we are. The way that I was going to handle it, for example, the telescope structure, this one just needs a straight-up view above it. If we were to place that there, for example, it's going to generate a little heat. It needs to have gases sent to it anyway. So my plan is to have a little bit of airflow here, a little bit of drywall behind it, probably something along these lines, something like that. And then down here, along with the gas being delivered to it, there would be a little branch just for a gas vent. And then in this little area down here, the gas can just move up. It'll be drawn to the vacuum of space, but it'll leach away some of that heat as it's going. Much in the same way that we've got this dealing with it. Little tiny bits of CO2 were helping with that. Though that being said, we're not actually sending any gas up there anymore, because we're sending it all to the Slicksters, which is probably not the best thing in the world. I am going to need to hook up something down here to deal with that. How about we pop in little gas valve somewhere around there. And we'll give this priority. Just so that we're sending a little bit of CO2 up there. Make sure that's done fairly quickly, otherwise we're going to cook the shovels. This reminds me of one of those more fascinating aspects that comes up in the discussion of space battles. Heat is death. Yeah, no, absolutely. Dealing with heat in space is a real problem. Got any printables? Take the hell more. Damn it. Okay. Break this down then. We're going to need to make that. Down here, we're going to need to make it out of steel. It's a bit annoying, but okay. Thankfully, it's only 50.